Right, so if you go to my site qtpselenium.com, this is the course listed over here under Selenium Tutorials section. There are total 43 modules in which the complete course for Selenium has been distributed by me. Right, now in online training I cannot cover all of them. I just cover Java and WebDriver along with frameworks and online training. Rest of the topics I give the pre-recorded sessions which you can refer. Fine, this course will last for approximately 4 to 5 weeks, in which I'll cover most of the aspects of Selenium, right, starting with Java language. Okay, now there's a question being asked by Srilatha. Yeah, Srilatha, tell me. Okay, fine. Yeah, Srilatha is saying that she's not able to hear me. Please check your volume, Srilatha, because please check your, hold on. Just a minute. Right, starting with the course, I'll be starting with the basics of Java language because Java is very important. Most of us, they tend to ignore Java when learning Selenium, and that's a big mistake. Okay, many times people ask me, why do we need to learn Java and all? Because it's the language in which Selenium works, right? I'll give you a brief history of Selenium, how it evolved over a period of time, and what all are the various components of Selenium and what is famous in the market. Okay, because there are various objectives with which people come to the training. Some of them want to work in their projects, some of them want to change their jobs and all. So I'll cover each and every aspect from that, right? What I'll do is, let's start with a brief history of Selenium. Okay, first of all, Selenium is a tool. Always remember, it can only test your web-based application. Okay, Selenium is a tool which can only test web-based apps, or basically it can only test websites. Okay, it is not meant for desktop based products. Even like if you talk about Android, Selenium is successful in Android as well, but it can only test websites in Android. Okay, it can only test websites in Android. You cannot test any native application, even in iPhone as well. If you have a website, you can only test how that website opens up in Android or iPhone. Hold on, guys. I'll mute my microphone. So now going forward, right? How this thing evolved. In 2006, I worked on Selenium for the first time. Okay, that time it was not so famous. These were the major components in Selenium at that time. One was known as Selenium RC, and there is another component known as IDE, and another component known as GRID. Please keep your microphones on mute. Please keep your microphones on mute. Right now, IDE, most of you must have worked with it. The problem is it only works on Mozilla. It generates no reports and all, nothing, and it cannot be used at a large scale or in large scale projects. Cannot be used for large scale projects. What do I mean by large scale projects? Suppose if I have to automate 1,000 test cases or something. IDE is primarily a record and run tool. Okay, it is primarily a record run tool in which you have the record run functionality. Otherwise, there are other, you can also implement logics in it. But the problem is it only works with Mozilla. It generates no reports. It does not do anything which you require in the real-time work. Right. That's why these guys came up with Selenium RC. Selenium was made by a company known as ThoughtWorks initially. Okay. Now Selenium RC is something which works on all the browsers like Mozilla, on Chrome it will work, IE, Safari, right, Opera, okay, and it is available. The coding of Selenium RC has to be done in one of the languages like Java or C Sharp or Ruby, Python, right, Perl, PHP. There are many languages. It is independent of the language in which your website is made. Suppose my website is made in Java. It is not necessary to use Selenium RC with Java. Right? You can use Selenium with Java, C Sharp, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP, any language to test a website made in Java or any other language. That dependency is not there. Okay, and there is something known as GRID. GRID, what it does is that you can make a hub, you connect your machines to it, and you run your test cases, Selenium test cases, parallelly on multiple machines using GRID. Suppose I have got 5,000 test cases. I can take up 5 machines and execute 1,000 test cases parallelly, right, on different you can say nodes, right. So GRID is something which helps you to run the test cases parallelly. RC is something which you can execute on all the browsers, but it requires knowledge of one of these languages. And IDE is a very simple tool which primarily works only on Mozilla. For beginners, I would say IDE is good to get a feel of it, but if you're looking at real-time scenarios, if you're looking to switch a job, you're finding a job, then IDE is not must. You have to evolve. You have to learn new stuff like RC or GRID. Right. Now, RC, it had a lot of drawbacks. Okay, RC was not primarily made for releasing for the whole world, like Selenium is being used by the whole world, whole testing community uses it. RC was initially made by Thoughtworks for its own internal testing purposes. Okay, 1 minute guys, Srilata is just facing some issues. I'll just ask her to try to join again. Right. Okay, so RC, it was primarily made by those people to test their own internal applications, but it got famous and Google also started using it. So there were many drawbacks in RC. Okay, the API was also very complex. Fine. Now what Google did and these sort of guys did, they evolved a new version, right, and that is known as WebDriver, which everybody wants today. It is too good. It's an open source tool, free of cost. The same features are there in WebDriver as well. It tests on multiple browsers using the same languages like Java, C Sharp and all, right? But it's better than Selenium RC in many aspects. Okay, the primary difference between Selenium RC and WebDriver is that in RC we had to start a server. Until or unless we never used to start a server, RC never used to run. Okay, RC used to run on a server. It had its own server, sorry, which you had to start. But there is no server in WebDriver which you have to start manually. Many times in RC, what used to happen was server never used to get started. I saw that people used to restart their machines and all this and that, and then they used to start the servers, right? But in WebDriver, that's not the case. This is the major difference, one of the major differences, right? So now this is technically known as Selenium 1.0 RC, and WebDriver is known as 2.0. Anirudh, your voice is coming, but there's a lot of disturbance. Can you just put it on the chat if you are comfortable on the WebEx chat? Yeah, just put your question on the WebEx chat. The voice was breaking like anything. Right, yeah, ask me a question. If anybody has any questions, please ask me the question.
Ashish?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Can we use the GRID for the performance testing as well?
No. Selenium is nowhere near performance testing. Many times people ask me a question, How will you do performance testing with Selenium? Selenium is not meant for performance testing. An open source tool like JMeter is for performance testing. GRID is actually for faster execution of test cases. Suppose you have got 1000 set of cases which have to be executed on Mozilla, Chrome and IE. Fine. Now, if you have a single machine, right, then you have to actually execute it 3000 test cases, 1000 times on IE, 1000 times on Chrome, 1000 times on Mozilla, right? So what we do, we use GRID in this kind of scenario.
Right.
We make a hold on. We make a hub. We connect 3 nodes to it, and on one node we execute on IE, the second node we execute on Chrome, and the third node on Mozilla. Okay, so this eases the process, this fastens the process. It is the whole thing ends up early, right? So that's the main motive.
Okay.
Hey Ashish, Ram here.
Yeah, Ram.
Yeah, actually I have a question. Just now you told Selenium RC and WebDriver are same. Okay, so what is the main difference between the RC and WebDriver?
Okay, look, I don't want to answer this question right now. I'll answer that question by tomorrow. Okay, when I actually teach you the APIs, right? When I go inside the API, you'll actually see the difference. Okay, right? There's a lot of difference. One of the differences I just told you, there is no server. Okay, if you have to go into the technical depth and if you have to see how big RC and WebDriver are, you can hold on. For people who don't know about RC, who don't know about WebDriver, please excuse me for some time, right? I'll just tell you. Just go to Google. Anirudh, I'll just answer your question just a minute. You type over here Selenium RC Java. This is the documentation of Selenium RC, and hold on. This is the documentation of WebDriver, technical document. You see how many classes are there. It's quite huge, right? Don't go inside it. What is there? This is RC. That's it. Okay. This is RC. Fine. So there's a lot of
Ashish.
yeah.
One more question. I'm Errol. When I was trying to view the videos of the Selenium IDE, I found it. I mean, only some of the videos are free. So when I studied, it said that 4 hours video, but unfortunately, I couldn't able to go forward more than 15 minutes. Is it something like once we pay only, the whole video would be given, something like that?
No, it's not like that. The videos they play on YouTube. Okay, on my website.
You have mentioned as 4 hours, something like that, but I don't find it has come for 4 hours. That's the reason.
No. Did you watch all the parts?
No, I watched the Selenium IDE first part, the first video one.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I have divided IDE into various parts. These are the IDE tutorials.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay.
So all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a free one, or only the first one you are giving as a free one?
All the tutorials on this page are free.
Okay. Okay.
There's another question being asked by Anirudh. Is Selenium used to automate the front-end UI scenarios or only internal APIs? Well, it's basically for front-end scenarios. For API testing and all, we use different tools. Okay, we use tools like SoapUI can be used for API testing, provided it's a REST API or something. Okay. So now, right, where was my diagram? Hold on. Here's the diagram we were focusing on. Right. Now, WebDriver and RC, they are completely different. Okay. RC is deprecated now. Deprecated means no more support is there, no more development work or enhancement work is going on. Everybody is going towards WebDriver now. Okay, and WebDriver is completely different from RC. It's not necessary to learn RC in order to learn WebDriver. People who have worked on RC for 5 to 6 years, when they look at WebDriver, they are not able to understand it. Both of them, they look like completely different tools altogether. Okay, so, but the problem is in interviews, sometimes people ask RC because there are many companies who have their systems already implemented in RC. So they don't want to upgrade to WebDriver because system is stable, right? But all the new development is being done in WebDriver. So sometimes in interviews, people can also use RC. Can ask you RC. But even if you go with WebDriver, it will be more than enough, I guess. Right? Now, GRID. Talking about GRID, GRID has also evolved into something known as GRID 2. This was GRID 1. Fine. The concept is same, but GRID 1 is supporting RC, GRID 2 supports WebDriver and RC. Okay. So now we will start with Java and gradually we'll jump over to WebDriver. Okay. Now there is actually, I hate saying this because the prerequisites for the training and all, right? Just a minute. Fine. And the thing is, look, there are two ways in which you can learn Selenium from me. Okay. One is through online training, which everybody is starting now. Other one is that you go for the videos. Like you must have seen it, right? I also offer videos in Selenium, right? What I promote is that go for the videos, okay, and later on join the training by paying the remaining money. That is whatever is the difference between the training fee and the video fee. Pay that and come to the training, because it actually helps you a lot when you come to the training with a certain background. Okay, when you watch the videos, you have some background, and then you come to the training, it helps a lot. Because in online training, I tend to go a little faster as well because of time crunch. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're not able to understand from online training, you can also subscribe to the videos. Okay, videos are more elaborate than the training. Okay, now what I will do is, the first thing which you need to do to start on with working with Selenium is install Java in your machine. And I guess everybody has installed Java. Everybody has got Java on their machines because you are able to join the WebEx meeting. Java is required for WebEx. Secondly, you need to install Eclipse on your machine. Okay, Eclipse is an editor for Java language in which you write the code. Okay, you can go here, type download Eclipse. Get Eclipse Indigo. Okay, there's a reason behind it, because Indigo works perfectly good with TestNG. Right, you go to the first link, Eclipse Indigo, and download the first one, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developer, depending on your operating system. Okay, for example, everybody must have heard about the C language. Okay, the C language is there, fine, and Turbo C is the editor for C language. In Turbo C we write the code. Similarly for Java we have Eclipse. Inside Eclipse we write the code. You can go in your G drive. Like in my G drive I have this Eclipse over here. After downloading and installing, I have kept it over here. Okay, so inside Eclipse, when you open, you will find eclipse.exe. There is no installable for Eclipse. Okay, there is no installable, like, you know, it comes as a bundle. When you start it, Eclipse will start like this. Okay, you just have to download it, extract the file, and start using Eclipse. Okay, now this initial page is the workspace launcher page. This page actually tells you the location where the complete Java code will be lying when you work with Eclipse. Okay, I'll create a new folder called June weekend at this location. So in this course, whatever code I will be making, I will be storing the complete code at this location. Okay, I'll click on OK button and I'll start Eclipse. Hold on for some time. It will start. It will take around 2-3 minutes. Right?
Before it starts, I have a question regarding this editor.
Yeah.
So actually, what is the difference between the Eclipse editor and other editors?
Look, there are other editors like BlueJ is there, NetBeans is there. Fine. The only reason why I promote Eclipse is because if you talk about an editor like NetBeans, okay, NetBeans is more for advanced Java development, like making websites and all the developers use it. Eclipse can be used at a lower level for Selenium and all. Okay, it's a very lightweight editor. You don't need a very heavyweight editor like NetBeans for Selenium.
But my question is, so is there any problems that we are going to face when identifying like object?
Look, Eclipse will never identify the object.
No. I mean to say when I click so and so, the object will, whatever means properties and all the stuff.
No, it is not like that.
It's not like that.
Eclipse is nowhere related to Selenium. Eclipse is nowhere related to browser.
Okay.
Okay. We use Eclipse to write Selenium code. Eclipse can also be used to write Java code for web-based applications. Okay. It is just that primarily Eclipse is used for Java and web-based applications. It is just that Selenium has got its API in Java language. You can use Eclipse with Selenium, right? Okay. As we proceed, okay, you will get a more clear answer. Okay, just be with me. You will get the answer. But there is no technical fault. It's not like that one program runs in Eclipse and it doesn't run in NetBeans, or if it runs in NetBeans, it doesn't run. Okay. You will never find an issue like that anywhere.
Thank you.
Ashish,
yeah, tell me.
I already downloaded previously based upon the video you joined that you haven't mentioned about Eclipse, normal Eclipse, without Indigo. Is that fine that without, is it mandatory that we have to download Indigo, Eclipse Indigo?
No, it is not mandatory. Okay, but sometimes other Eclipse gives issues.
Sorry to disturb. We are unable to hear his question. Can you repeat that question, please?
I'll repeat the question. The question is, why did I ask specifically to download Eclipse Indigo? Okay, there is no technical fault, right? But sometimes I've seen people having Eclipse Juno and Juno giving issue with test-ng. Later on this course, we study test-ng. Okay, so Juno can give issues with test-ng. So I bring everybody to the same platform basically. I ask them to download Eclipse Indigo because even after the course, many people come with questions to me and a lot of stuff. So I tend to keep all the students at the same level, right? That's why I tell you. Okay, so now this is Eclipse, right? In this Eclipse, in the central portion over here, we'll write the code. This is the portion in which we will store the projects, and this is the portion in which we will actually get the output. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start off with Java. I'll make a very simple project known as day 1. Right click, go to new Java project. Okay, right click, go to new Java project and give the project name as day 1. Alright, click on next, finish. So this is the day 1 project. Alright, if you expand this project, you will see a source folder and GRE system library. This GRE system library is nothing but Java which is installed on your machine. Okay, if you right click on day 1, go to the properties, you will see various options here. We will be using many of these options, right? So you should have the habit of right clicking on the project, going to the properties. The shortcut is Alt Enter. Right, in the resources property of the project, you will see the path where the project is lying. See, the project is lying under June weekend workspace which I had created. Okay, if I go to June weekend out here, you will see day 1 project which I had created. If you open day 1, you will be able to map some of the things. The source folder is here, the source folder is also here. Settings, bin, class path, project, these are not there. Okay, basically class path will study later on. Dot project file means that it is an Eclipse project. This is created by Eclipse. Don't delete these files. Okay, let's talk about making your first Java program, and then I'll talk about the bin folder. Okay, in my source folder, I'll make my first Java program now. I'll right click on it. In the source folder, you will keep all your Java files. Okay, you right click on the source folder, go to new class. So in this class, in this training, we will be studying Java with Selenium. I do not take over C# or some other languages, because Java is most widely used with Selenium. The only reason being behind that is Java is an open source language firstly. Secondly, it is platform independent. If I make a code on Unix, I can run it on Windows, I can run it on any operating system. Alright, so like for example, I'll make my first Java program over here. I'll name my class like first program. Okay, I'll click on this checkbox, public static void main. Just be with me. Initially you will, if you are newbie to Java, you will find it quite weird, but as you practice it, right, you will certainly learn. Okay, so you click on finish and you'll see the first Java program coming up over here.
Ashish, sorry to disturb you. So are you going to cover types of classes like public, private and all this stuff later, right?
That is access modifiers. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So hold on. This is your class, right? It's got a starting bracket and an ending bracket, and this is the main function. If anybody has studied C language, in C language also the main function is present. Okay, in the main function the control comes up for the first time when you run the program. Now what is public, what is static over here, why do we use public, why do we use static, right? I cannot explain this to you in first go. As I proceed with the course, tell you the concepts of object-oriented programming, then only I can tell you what static and all this stuff is. Okay. Now the mistake which people they do is that they tend to ignore Java while learning Selenium. And then many of the people I've seen them, they tell me that there is no proper documentation of Selenium available on internet. I am not able to find anything. Look, the complete documentation of Selenium is present on the internet. Hold on. If you go to the site, Selenium site, seleniumhq.org. Okay, and you go to the download section, right? In the download section, you have this Java doc. This is the documentation of Selenium, official documentation, right? Now this is purely technical. Technical means it is purely object oriented in nature. Fine. You should have the concepts of object oriented programming in Selenium very clear before using this documentation. If you ask any Java developer who is having these concepts clear, it will hardly take him one day to pick up Selenium. It's a piece of cake for him, because the concepts of Java are clear to him. Fine, he knows how to link these classes with each other and what to do, how to read this documentation. But to a person who is not aware of Selenium, it's quite difficult. Sorry, aware of Java, it is quite difficult. Okay, so that's why I am concentrating a bit on Java first and the concepts of OOPS. Fine. Now I'll go parallelly. I'll teach you Java and then I'll tell you how to use Java in the corresponding, you can say, Selenium API or something like that. Right. Now in my first Java program, what I'll do is I'll print the command to print anything in Java is system.out.println, or the shortcut is you type syso and hit control plus spacebar. That is, you type syso and hit control spacebar, automatically this will come. Okay, so if I write system.out.println in string Selenium and I save my program and I run this, to run this is the icon on the top. Okay, if you click on this, program will execute, it will print Selenium. Or you can also execute the program by right clicking on the file, going to run as Java application. Okay, now what I am assuming basically from everybody in this course is that everybody knows what int is, what string is, right, what an array is, right, basics of functions. Okay, if you don't know these things, right, then I would seriously suggest don't go for a direct online training. Go for the videos. In videos I've explained everything systematically. Okay, you will be able to make the most out of it. Go for the videos and then join the class by paying the remaining fee. Okay, now you know what, in Java, alright, this was the project path, day 1. Inside the source folder you will see first program.java. This is the Java file which we created. Okay, and if you go back, there is a bin folder. In bin folder, if you open, you will see first program.class file. What happens is that every Java file is converted into a class file when you run the program. This class file is just like the DLL file. Okay, this class file is just like a DLL file in .NET. Okay, so hold on, there's a question being asked. Aditya, I'll just answer that in some time, right? So now, yeah. So if I create a new Java file over here, right click on the source folder, create a new Java file, and I name that Java file as second program. Okay, with the main function. And in second program, suppose I type int I equals to 100, and I type system.out.println value of I is, and if you have to concatenate I, you can write plus I. This will print value of I is 100. If you run this, it prints value of I is 100. Plus is the concatenation sign. Okay. Now if you look at the files generated, you will see in the bin folder second program.class file is also generated. Okay. Now this means every Java program is converted into a .class file. Right. I hope this much is clear. Now suppose I have to deliver this project to the client. Fine, I have to deliver this project to the client. Will I give him the source code? Nobody wants to give the source code, obviously. So what I will give him is the class file. Because even if you try to open the class file, see, I try to open it in a notepad, you will not be able to understand it. Okay. So you can give your client the class file, but the question arises, what if there is a project in which you have got thousands of class files and you have to give 1000 class files to your client. Will you give him each and every class file separately? So the solution for this is that we combine all the class files into a single file known as a jar file. Many of you might have heard this name, jar file. Jar file is nothing but a collection of many class files. Alright, I'll show you a practical example on this. Right. For example, this is GRE system library. This is nothing but Java which was installed on your system. Okay. If you expand this GRE system library, you will see that Java comprises of nothing but many jar files. These jar files, they get downloaded when you download Java and install it. They get downloaded into your system. Okay, and these jar files are nothing but Java. Inside every jar file, there are lot of class files. Alright, you will see that inside every jar file, there are lot of class files. So this is how Java is introduced into your system. It is introduced in the form of jar files. Similarly, if you have to introduce Selenium into your project, you have to introduce it as, you have to introduce in the concept of jar file, right? What I mean to say is that I am telling you now how to download and configure Selenium in your system. Selenium is not a tool which can be installed like any other automation tool. There is no exe file for Selenium. When you download Selenium, number of jar files, they come into your system. Whosoever developed Selenium, he made jar files and he put all the class files and all of Selenium and just gave it to us. If you go to the site seleniumhq.org, hold on. Oh, seleniumhq.org. Right. If you go to the site and you click on the download link, you will see that this is the download link for Java client driver. Right. When you click on this download link, you will be getting Selenium jar files onto your machine in form of zip file. For example, in my project, in my computer, I have this. Yeah. So I have Selenium 2.3, the latest version right now, and 2.33 is going on, but it doesn't make a difference in teaching. Right. It all started with 2.1. Okay, that was almost 2 years back, right? So I could download this one. I should get the latest one. Okay, so let it download. Meanwhile, when you extract the zip file which you download, you will get this folder. Okay, and in this you will get jar files. These are the two jar files for Selenium. Along with it, you will have a lib folder in which you will have other jar files for Selenium. You need to import these jar files into Eclipse, and that's how Selenium can be configured in your system. Okay, so there is no exe file for Selenium. You never install Selenium. Many people, I have heard them saying that, Ashish, I am not able to install Selenium, or will you help me to install Selenium? Selenium is not installed, it is always configured. Alright, now once you have these jar files, you can go in. Yeah.
Hey Ashish, this is Ranga. I got a question.
Yeah, tell me.
So if you want to update your system, so let's say you downloaded 2.3 1.0,
Yeah.
and then you are developing a project, and let's say 33.0 comes up, which has more classes, and you want to use those.
Yeah.
Do you just override those packages, download and override those packages, and you're all set, or?
It depends what kind of changes they make. Okay, they never deprecate anything, that's for sure. Okay, it's not something that if your code version right now is 2.31 and if you download 2.32, then 2.31 will not run, it will run, right? And as far as overriding is concerned, it depends, right, what kind of change they have implemented. Okay, generally the changes are not so, these days the changes are not so big, right, as there used to be in the initial versions. It's quite stable.
But when I download this Selenium, I download it into a folder and then I import it into Eclipse, right?
Yeah.
So when the other version comes up, I just download it to the same location and I re-import it, and that will.
No. You have to, if you have to upgrade from one version to another, you have to remove the current jar files and bring in the new jar files.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
You cannot have jar files of both the versions imported.
Okay.
Okay. I hope everybody is clear with this question. The crux was that can I have jar files of say 2.30 as well as 2.31 into one project? No, you cannot do that. Don't do that. Alright, that's not recommended. Fine. Use only one version at a time. Fine. Now in day 1, I have to import these jar files. Okay. So all you need to do is that go to the properties of day 1 project, and you will see an option called as Java build path. Okay, in this Java build path, you'll have a folder add external. You'll have a button add external jars under libraries. Please note you should select libraries. Currently, Java library is present in the project. Java library having these jar files. Okay. Now I will add some external jars into Eclipse. These jars would be from Selenium. So I click on add external jars. I'll go to the place where I have kept the jars. Right. In 2.31, I'll select these 2 jars and import them. Apart from them, don't forget to import the jars under library. Many times people who are new, they forget this. They just import these 2 jars and that's it, and Selenium never works. Okay, please import the jars under libs as well. So you select these jars, Control A and select. So these are the jars of Selenium. You will see reference library section over here, and under reference libraries you will see the jar files. If you don't see the reference libraries, then make sure that you have selected Java as the perspective from here. Always work. These are the various perspectives or various views in which you can work in Eclipse. With Selenium, we will work in Java view. Okay, you can click on this small icon over here and select the Java perspective. Alright, now this is Selenium and it is in your project, and now you can start using Selenium. Okay, but how do I use it? To use Selenium, you should have the concepts of object-oriented programming very clear in your mind. So the next thing which I am going into is the concept of object-oriented programming. Okay, so what I'll do is, hold on. There's a question being asked. Wait, just a minute. He's typing the question. Okay, so the question is, can I test database with Selenium? Look, Selenium will never connect to database. You're getting it wrong. the thing is, look, this is your, just a minute. This is your web application. Okay, this is, oops, this is Selenium, and this is your database. Okay, Selenium will interact with the web application. If you have a button on which you have to click, Selenium can click on it. If you have a link on which you want to click, Selenium can click on it. But who will interact with the database? Java language will interact with the database. And Selenium is also made in Java language. So there is no command in Selenium to interact with the database. Java is something which will be interacting with the database. Okay. Because if you talk about developers, how do they connect to database? They use Java language, they use C# language to connect to database, right? So similar kind of code you will also have to write if you want to connect to database. It's not a big deal, it is very easy, right? I have seen people getting scared of programming, getting scared of Selenium or something like that. Okay, look, the thing is, if you are into testing and if you want to make a good career in it, you have to jump into programming, right? Because future, I'm seeing that the demand for automation and load testing tools, web services tools, all this is growing up, and you have to have programming knowledge. You cannot just run away from it, right? Anyways, let's